Greetings and welcome to our series of weekly devotionals. We've reached the midweek offering in our look at the opening verses 1 through 11 in chapter 3 of Paul's letter to the Colossians. I remember reading many years ago about experiences called near-death experiences. People have reported actually dying and then being brought back to life, and they had what they considered to be sort of glimpses of heaven or experiences on the other side. And of course, coming back then, many of them reported that these experiences sort of transformed their life. They lived now with a sort of a sense of assurance and confidence, a sense of peace, and living in a sort of a feeling of love, and just their whole life is transformed by this experience. And certainly saints in the church throughout the ages, from Mother Teresa to Teresa of Avila to modern day saints like Thomas Merton and Marcus Borg, I remember reading about experiences they had, which not necessarily they were near death, but that they just had these euphoric, sort of ecstatic experiences in the presence of God, and how those kinds of experiences also transformed their living, their way of being. In the New Testament, I mentioned yesterday, Paul's exhortation to see with the eyes of faith. And often in the New Testament literature, that sort of equates with a person getting what is written as getting a glimpse of heaven, and how getting that glimpse of God's truth, God's reality, then can transform a person and help that person to see the truth of God, the reality of God that is all around us. The reality is that most of us are not going to have those near-death experiences, and many of us probably won't even have those kinds of ecstatic or euphoric experiences in the presence of God. And yet, I do think that even in some of the mundane experiences in our life, just looking at a flower growing, or watching birds, or someone smiling at you in the grocery store, are in and of themselves glimpses of heaven. And while they might not transform our lives, or perhaps they might at least transform our day. And they remind us of something that Paul assures his followers in this letter, which is that God's reality is not something that our world is going to be transformed into at some point. For Paul, God's truth, God's reality is already here. It is present. It is a reality, and it's just something that we need to notice. Amen.